song, man.
I can't hear you, Cap.
Cap?
Oh, hi everybody. Yeah, so everything is going wrong right out the gate, just as it always does. DJ, I'm gonna. This is my fault, but I'm gonna blame you as well, cause all of the words on the screen are from the last Captain Logan show. So we're gonna need to change all that. Let's get this all figured out. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight we're doing Transformers War for Cybertron. That's what we're doing this evening, and there's also no After Dark this evening. So we gotta take that out. Let's resize this a little bit, shall we? There we
doing
go.
A tutorial?
Yes.
OBS tutorial.
That's how you do that on OBS. Okay. So we're ready to go. Okay. Anyway, welcome back everybody to the Captain Logan Show. We're all professionals here. I am, as always, Captain Logan. Joining me this evening, as always, first of all, is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello. Hello.
And DJ is fully unprepared for the review that we're about to do, Kareem and I, which is why I brought Kareem in, because DJ has a newborn and better things to do than watch Transformers shows. So instead, this evening, I've got my good buddy Kareem, who has been helping me do some comic vaults over the last few months. And Kareem, I think this is going to be your first TV show or movie or anything moving. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm on TV. I'm excited. I'm on.
Well, no, you've been moving before, but this will be the first time you've talked about something that is moving. And then we'll have to decide if you were moved by the thing that was moving.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. So we decided that we would talk about Transformers this evening, regardless of our lack of qualifications. I have seen a few things here and there. I've, over the last few years, found myself reviewing some Transformers stuff. So I should start off right away by saying I'm not a big Transformers fan. I don't know it in and out. I've never seen all of Gen 1, which this miniseries, this prequel thing is based on. I don't know if this is supposed to count in exactly that canon or not, but from what I know, it sure feels like it all fits. So we'll have to hear from some Transformers fans in the audience and see if there were any big liberties taken that I didn't notice. There are, with Transformers, you've got sometimes characters that die. That this being a prequel, I'm like, well, okay, I know they're in stuff later, so like, do they come back to life, or is that part of a reimagining thing? So I'm hoping to get a little bit of an education tonight from some of you guys that actually know Transformers in the comments. But anyway, we're going to do this as how we felt about. If there's enough interest, and there's a lot of questions about this, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about it. And if you guys want us to get into spoilers at all, we will just do a spoiler warning after we've done the how we felt about of it all. And then we'll also do a little bit of spoilers. And then for the remainder of the show, we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So this is not a Transformers themed show. This is a show with a Transformers review in it. So after that, if there's any more DC fandom stuff you guys want to talk about, we can do that. I'm gonna have to, if we have time, otherwise I'll talk about it on Thursday. I'm gonna have to talk about, I can't even believe the words are about to come out of my mouth, the CW Powerpuff Girls pilot that's being developed. I just can't even...
I didn't know that.
I just want to shoot myself in the face right now. Yeah, they're developing an angsty live-action Powerpuff Girls pilot. And I can't live in a world where that exists. So, if sometime if that goes to
last season of the Captain Logan show,
I was going to say, if that goes to series, and then you guys see a headline where some small-time YouTuber shot himself in the head, that could be the reason that happened. I'm not promising that there's not suicide in my future over that news. Anyway, so there's that. We can talk about that and a couple of little things that have come up in the last few days, the last week that I haven't talked about yet that could come up on the show tonight. So as always, if you want to make sure that your question or comment or topic is discussed on air, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that makes sure that we that we see that, and we'll definitely, of course, talk about it if you leave a super chat, and that helps us keep the train moving here on Geekvolution. We are mostly funded by the audience, so we sure appreciate anybody that has ever done that, but don't feel the need to. We will answer as many pre-written questions as possible as well. DJ is cataloging those as we speak, and give him lots of stuff to do, because he didn't watch Transformers, so he's not going to be me.
I'll be talking to you guys in the chat, because I am going to be lost.
For the next 15, 20 minutes, at least. So, what I want to do right now, Kareem, is... So, again, you guys go ahead and start leaving questions. I know DJ already has quite a few compiled. And you can also, while we're talking about Transformers, you can leave super chats about other things. And DJ is very organized. And we can just change the order in which we discuss those things. So, what I want to do right now is basically just start how we felt about in the middle of the Captain Logan show. So, hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan. This is Kareem. Today, we're going to tell you how we felt about the first part of the War for Cybertron trilogy. As Kareem alluded to earlier, it's called Siege. And we're going to go ahead and just give you our quick broad thoughts, and then we'll answer some questions from you guys if there's any aspects of it that you want us to talk about. So, Kareem, you're not a Transformers guy, and like, again, I'm not either, but I've seen some things, and you haven't. So, I partly wanted to bring you in... I invited you because you said you were going to watch it, and I like reviewing stuff with you, and at the time I didn't even realize that you weren't a Transformers guy, but then I thought, no, or that you hadn't seen anything, but I thought this will be cool because this being a prequel and this going back to Cybertron and what gets us to the Allspark and what gets us to Earth and all of that, it might be cool to bring in somebody that's not familiar at all, that hasn't even seen the 86 movie, which this is, of course, can you guys hear me? Which this is, of course, heavily influenced by and informs. Might be cool to see if this is a good jumping on point, as it were, if this is a good place to start if you've not seen anything at all. So I want to start with that question, Kareem. How easy was it for you to jump into this as kind of a starting place?
That's actually my strength of the whole thing. That's the biggest compliment I can give it, because I've constantly missed the train on like 80s defining pop culture, like Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, all that stuff. So I was like born in the 90s. So it feels like a giant party that I don't know anything about Transformers, but I'm not invited to. You know, it feels like I am invited. It's an easy jumping on point. I got where the characters, like who everyone was, which is the problem I always got from Transformers. I'm like, who's talking? Like, why should I care? So this is like an easy, like, jumping on point, I would say.
Yeah, that's often my issue with Transformers as well, and the reason I've always said that Transformers doesn't make for great comics, it's always a weird thing to put in that medium, because everybody's heads look the same, and when you do headshots, and Transformers is oddly talky, right? And like even this series, you think of this as, it's a toy commercial, it's trying to bring characterization to action figures. Like a lot of 80s action figures, the whole point of the series was just to sell toys, so you just needed a backstory so that the kids would have a foundation to make up stuff with their own adventures when they were playing with stuff. It's the reason Ninja Turtles even had a show. It's hard to think of that now, considering that was on for 10 years and spawned a million other things. But even though that started as a comic, the big popularity of it begins as a toy, and He-Man's that way. And so with Transformers, it's crazy that there is such a deep, complex mythology. And if you look at the right stuff, and I would put this particular show in that category, some oddly deep character dimension for some of these characters that just began as a toy and who a lot of them more or less kind of look the same in the face.
Yeah, it feels like a treat obviously for the fans, and then for new people like me, it feels like they're actually in the world taking this stuff seriously. Like, it feels like a war story and a soldier story, which is very impressive. And there's a lot of philosophical debates and stuff that I was like, wow. I wasn't thinking, because the only Transformer stuff I've seen is, unfortunately, the Michael Bay movies. Yeah. No disrespect to anyone if you like those, but But I own the 1986 movie, but I've never just sat down and watched it. But this is making me want to go back and even the because they're owned by IDW, right?
Yeah.
Like even the IDW comics I want to sit down and read. I had no idea it was this like fascinating and stuff.
Yeah, and what's great is there's an inherent absurdity to it, but it's played completely straight. So you kind of forget that you're looking at like robots that turn into different vehicles for no good reason.
Which is my favorite
I understand.
sci-fi. Yeah, it's my favorite sci-fi where it's completely ridiculous, but it's totally played straight. Like, why is there a jet when they have no conception of Earth and stuff like that?
From the perspective of these characters, it doesn't feel ridiculous at all.
No, not at all. No. And even the language, like
I was gonna say,
crap.
some of the slang should be stupid, but you know, they say scrap instead of crap, and it's great.
Use your energon. I was getting into it. No, it made me sad that I didn't grow up with it, which is the best compliment I can give it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was excited for the you know, I guess we'll get into it later, but some of the mythology stuff that I found really impressive.
Well, and considering the kind of the kind of stuff that you're working on right now in your own writing, because Kareem is in my creative writing workshop, and he's working on a book with a really rich mythology, and it's a sci-fi thing, and it's not like this, but it's also like absurd in its own way. Like there's stuff that would seem ridiculous in a different context, but doesn't in your book. And so as I was watching this, I was like, I'm actually really glad that I've got Kareem on this, because it seemed like the sort of thing with all of the rich mythology that you ought to eat up. But I wasn't sure how well you'd be able to follow it, not knowing any of the characters, because that was always, like I said earlier, the issue that I had trying to get into Transformers stuff. You and I were talking after we both saw like the first episode or two, and early on you were having that, weren't you? Where it was like, I don't know who any of these people are, and like, but
it helped to put the subtitles on.
I'm glad you did that, yeah, because when you don't know anybody's names, sometimes it's hard to tell who they're supposed to, and then when it it'll come as Starscream, okay, now I know who that guy is. But unlike the 86 movie, which as a jumping on point was just insanely overwhelming to me, I had no idea what was going on. I loved the visuals, and what plot stuff I could pick out seemed very interesting. But I needed like 4 viewings with that before I had any idea what was happening. And then when I wrote a rewind on it, I still got comments like, Cap has no idea what's going on in this movie. And so I found this really refreshing because there are a lot of characters, but for Transformers, it's way slimmed down. Like, insanely slimmed down. There are a lot of background characters, and I will say one of my complaints, and this is not perfect, I've got some issues with it, I will say overall, I was really, really enjoying this. I think it's great. But I will, so Kareem also flips his invisible sign green, it sounds like.
I'm gonna make a sign.
Yeah, you should. But what or you could just be like Connor and find a red thing in your house and a green thing in your house.
The only thing I have in this room that's a circle is ironically yellow. So I guess I'll just stay neutral on this one.
He's just slowing down.
I was gonna say, you and I are moving very quickly, but DJ is slowing down. One of my issues with this is that Cybertron feels kind of empty. Like, I get that there's a war, and like a lot of people in the society are likely to like not be out and running around, but because I got the sense that because of the 3D style animation they were doing, they were having a hard time putting too much on screen at one time, and I don't know that I would have had that had I not seen the 86 movie. And people in the comments were telling me, by the way, that this is supposed to be its own continuity, that this is starting a new Transformers continuity. So interesting that it felt like it lined up as well as it does. It seems like they're trying to be really reverential and close to the original source material, but they're tweaking stuff here and there, and they're making it, I think, more streamlined and easier for a general audience to dive into. So that's good, but like, I had a hard time as I was watching it because I didn't know that, not thinking, okay, why is there like 6 bazillion things flying around and shooting each other in every frame of the 86 movie when you've got these big battles in this? And by the way, you'd think more of these Transformer soldiers on both sides would have been destroyed before they got to that, right? And you've got all this stuff all over the place, and it's hard to tell what's even happening in some frames because it's so meticulously detailed in that 2D animation. And then you're watching this, and a big battle will have, like, you get a back-off shot where you'll see, like, armies marching for a minute, but then for the most part, yeah, we're seeing maybe 5 or 6 things shooting at each other on screen at any given point. And I also felt like there was this... I had a hard time getting a sense of how big the armies were, except for when you'd get those big speeches from Megatron, where he's talking to, like, these huge groups of Decepticons. But then when you go over to the Autobots, you only ever have, like, 5 or 6 talking in a scene at once. So then, you know, RC shows up. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know she was here. You know, you just have these characters that will, like, randomly walk into a room. And I'm like, oh, okay, where have you been? Like, do they live in catacombs? Like, where are these characters? Like, where are they? So that's one of my beefs with this, is just, it feels a little empty. It's like, they just cycle characters in and out.
No, that's a good point. It never occurred to me, because I guess, again, I'm a newcomer, so I don't really know the norm.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the classic, like, you know, the Empire is the large, looming threat, and you got a group of freedom fighters that are just, like, scrapped together. So it didn't bother me. It worked for the story, and it actually makes it a little bit more personal.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Especially for someone that's, you know, never seen Transformers.
Well, again, it makes it easier to keep track of who is who and who matters. And, like, with the 86 movie, it was a while before I even knew who the main protagonists were supposed to be. And in this, again, you have some background characters, but very quickly you're like, okay, here's the principal cast. Here are the characters that we're primarily focused on.
The only thing I see from the hardcore traditional fans, as far as complaints, is the voices.
Yeah.
Because they're so nostalgic. And I've had that with other properties that I grew up with, like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, where it's like, it's not the same. I can't go back to it because I don't have those voices in my head. So I get that, you know. I forget the actor, and they're going to hit me on the comments.
Peter
but
Cullen?
I forget the actor who... Yes.
Yeah, Peter Cullen.
Who passed away. Yeah, he passed away, right?
I think so. And I mean, like, what are you going to do? Like, if you're going to make this, obviously you have to recast it. But, and I get that he has voiced Optimus Prime in a bunch of different continuities, but in its defense with that, and actually, I'm also going to agree with you on that, but for a different reason. Or agree with the fans on that for a different reason. And again, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Transformers, so my dog's not in that fight. But in its defense with that, if they're trying to do a reimagining, like a Planet of the Apes kind of thing, recasting everybody is you know, it makes a lot of sense and is a way to go. However, it's not like they're having an Optimus Prime that sounds totally different. He's trying to do a Peter Cullen, so you end up with the you know, the auditory version of Uncanny Valley if you're really used to that voice. There's a part of me that says you almost ought to go with a completely different sounding voice, but then But maybe not for this, because since regardless of the fact that it's its own continuity, it does look a lot like Gen 1, and it's trying to give us that aesthetic. So of course in the voices they're trying to kind of do that also. So I don't know. I see both sides to that. I don't know what you're gonna do. Honestly, I thought a lot of the voice acting wasn't particularly impressive. Like, nothing's horrible. There wasn't a performance that blew me away or anything. It seemed like they're trying so hard to seem like the 80s cartoon that it's a little generic. So some of the voiceovers, I didn't recognize anybody in this cast. There may be somebody I know, but I looked at the cast list and I didn't recognize anybody.
Yeah, I did too, and I found the same thing. I did think Megatron sounded like.
Lewis Cox says Peter Cullen is still alive, but he's 79.
Oh, I feel bad.
Yeah, everybody in the chat is saying Peter Cullen is still alive. They said that...
Again, we're not Transformers people. I didn't know. I figured, why would you not use him if he was still alive? But I guess there's other reasons, like maybe, you know, maybe he doesn't sound right. Maybe he's not, you know, he's retired. Who knows?
They said Netflix didn't want Peter Cullen and Frank Welker because they're union actors. They didn't want any...
I didn't know that. Okay. Well, in that case, I get why the fans are irritated about it.
No, I would be mad too. But Megatron kind of sounded like what's his name, Clancy Brown to me. The
interesting.
voice of Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
but he wasn't. You know.
Yeah, I had that with a couple things too. I thought that who was it? I gotta think about it. There was somebody that reminded me a lot of a voice. I'm forgetting who it was now. It'll come to me anyway.
We should mention the beautiful look of it.
Yeah,
I really like the
real quick.
choice.
I know what it was. I forget his name. Alpha. What's his face? He sounded like Tony Todd for a minute, and then I was like, no, that's not Tony Todd. But yeah. The Alpha Trion. Yeah. The kind of Martin Luther King figure.
In Transformers, which is cool.
Yeah. I just we should get into the visuals because I know you wanted to bring that up, but just real quick, now that we're at that place, it's oddly poignant in a lot of places.
Oh yeah, and I was impressed by that stuff.
You know, it's a it's a war that begins as a revolution with legitimately oppressed people, where you have this really bad class warfare, and these robots are predetermined when they're created or born or whatever to be in certain classes and have certain jobs, and obviously all the people that have to work in the mines and feel like they're basically slave labor want to rise up and fight for their fight for freedom and fight for equality, and then eventually it stops being about equality and it starts being about revenge, and it starts being about becoming the thing that you hated in the first place because you want those people to suffer more than you actually want equality. And I don't have to get into it. All of this sounds very familiar.
It's almost Man of Steel done better.
Interesting.
In a lot of ways, like the Krypton stuff. Because Megatron in this really reminded me of General Zod in that, where like he's almost following his program and his need to like overpower certain groups of people.
Yeah, interesting.
I was getting a lot of Man of Steel vibes in that.
And of course, like a lot of these things, there's massive, Nazi allegory and all kinds of 20th century stuff. William Purcell says he never really likes it when the Autobots and Decepticons are different races. I was confused on that point in this. It was like it couldn't decide if you were born one way or the other, or if you got to choose. There was this real big question, I thought, and it never lands on it, and I think it's actually kind of an issue. It's like sometimes it feels like it's a matter of how you identify, but then we also keep talking about genocide and we keep talking about wiping out a whole race of people, and those two things don't go together. Like it's either a race or it's a and they call them both, right? Race and faction. Yeah. Those are different things.
Yeah, and we have like turncoat characters too, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
because whenever you talk about Transformers, you're like, all right, the Autobots versus the Decepticons, good versus evil, like those kind of archetypes. But I found a lot of that like mixing interesting, and the Ratchet stuff is my favorite thing in the show.
Yeah.
Where he has like a site to just help, like medically help anybody in the war.
Yeah, he's our Switzerland character. He's in a lot of things like this, you've got that kind of neutral ground place. And he's that, but there are several characters in this that are not just straight up one thing or the other. And Bumblebee might be the biggest departure from his original character, unless I just don't understand Bumblebee because I didn't watch enough Gen 1. But he starts off as not an Autobot or a Decepticon, but he wants to, and I guess minor spoilers, we haven't gotten into anything major yet, but the premise with him at the beginning is he won't pick a side. And I think he's extremely sympathetic in not doing that. He's called a coward constantly by characters on both sides, but you're in this really complicated shades of gray kind of situation where it becomes a matter of is it more important to save lives or is it more important to fight for an ideal? And so he doesn't want to join Megatron because he's a fascist, but he doesn't want to join the Autobots, Optimus Prime either, because he's fighting a war he can't win. And so, like, he just doesn't know what to do, and so he just makes it about his own survival. And it's interesting how he gets vilified a lot by different characters on both sides, and then he ends up being played as kind of the most altruistic character in just weirdly in just fighting for himself. Because this is a spoiler, so I'll just say now we'll get into a few things here. I think most of the people watching this have probably seen the show and interested in it. It's been a couple weeks, so we both really liked it. If you don't want to know anymore, don't watch any more of this video. And as you're watching right now live, just go find something else to do, and then come back in like 20 minutes and see if we're still talking about this. But later on, he gets the Alpha Trion protocol, and it's because his heart is in the most right place. Like, how did you feel about that notion?
That was probably my second favorite part of the series. Like, it felt like, well, the big thing with Bumblebee is I felt like he should have been more the forefront of the main character of the show. Like, because he's always, I feel like he's always the Eisen character with Transformers. But anyway, with this one, I felt like he should have been a little bit more at the center because it's a giant war with two different sides. But I thought that made the most sense to his character. Like you said, he's not an Autobot or Decepticon, and it's kind of really cool that he's given that kind of power, given that he's so neutral. Philosophically with the entire war and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that Optimus is played as oddly. I guess the show lets you make up your own mind, but would you agree that he's kind of played as also an extremist? Like,
I was going to ask you about
but
that.
But then I think we're also supposed to sympathize with him to some degree. I mean, it's just complicated, right? Like, and Megatron is not made just completely straight up evil. He comes from a place in the first place. Like I said, he was oppressed, and he thought he was fighting for equality, and then he let the power overtake him, and now it's just all about his way or the highway, which is classic, and we've seen a million times. But I appreciate that. Regardless of the fact that they're called Decepticons, he doesn't just start as he's bad. I love the part where, and this is maybe the obvious thing to say, but it goes to kind of a Professor Xavier Magneto kind of place. Like, we were fighting for the same things. I'm reminded of that scene at the end of First Class. We want the same things. No, my friend, we do not. You get that scene in this.
Oh yeah.
And it's great.
I love the history too.
Yeah, and they were both like the students of Alpha Trion. They were under his wing, and they have created this war that's destroyed the planet. But then, you know, the notion of whether or not Optimus is an extremist, like Optimus in other things that people have told me about that I haven't necessarily seen a whole lot of, seems to be sometimes kind of a little bit morally ambiguous. And in this, I don't know if he's morally ambiguous so much as just like in sort of an impossible position.
I was going to ask you about that because I felt like they both kind of led us, like Megatron and Optimus Prime were both led astray by this war, and they're on opposite sides. And even though Optimus Prime is kind of the good guy, he's a little bit, willing to just sacrifice the planet for the good of the war and stuff like that. So that's why I liked the Bumblebee thing.
Yeah.
At the end.
Maybe so you think that he is the extreme other side?
I was kind of sensing that.
See, and I think maybe some of it just depends on, and maybe I'm gonna be showing too much of my own colors or whatever with this, but like I think the reason I'm conflicted is because I have a hard time not agreeing with him, but then maybe some of his tactics and actions are just like bad strategy, and I want to talk about that in a minute because I don't think he's especially smart at the beginning. And there's a lot of talk about, all of this is happening because of you, Optimus. And it's like, like the problem is his optimism. He's Optimist Prime, and it's like, it's like, if only he had just knelt his knee to a fascist, everybody would be okay. And I'm like, see, that's why I have a hard time not agreeing with him, because like, well, what else do you do? Because you get toward the end, and he has that moment of indecision. And by the way, he has this look on his face constantly that really cracks me up, and I think there's going to be memes of where he's just like, oh. And he does that face like constantly, but he's really he's conflicted and feels bad about the past, and he's like, well, this is my fault because it all started with me opposing Megatron. And I'm like, okay, so basically what you're saying is that you should have just like gone along with fascism.
But I almost like it too. Like, I've had problems with that too, but I almost like it because he's the headstrong, like, war-ravaged hero. But it's almost like, I read into it, I was like, is that his programming to oppose that?
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
If without that, is he Optimus Prime still? Like, I almost got that like notion of like, is he just doing this because he's defined by that idea to be a rebel? Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Well, I'm not sure, because what's funny is I was not seeing a whole lot of like predestination versus free will in this, and maybe you're right. Maybe there's more of that than I'm catching on to. There's predetermination, but that's about a caste system, where it's like you're put. This is your lot in life. You're put here. But keep in mind, we have characters that, like you said earlier, are turncoats. We have a great character in Jetfire. Again, we are spoiling things at this point in the discussion. We have a great character in the Decepticon Jetfire, and I think he was maybe my favorite thing in this, where he becomes a defector because he agrees with Megatron originally, and I love that line toward the end, by the way, when he says, "I don't even remember what we were fighting for in the first place."
Yeah,
like, and you hear Autobot say that some toward the beginning too. You get that from Alita. Alita 1. And by the way, that's an original Transformers thing, but it's like we have a normal human-sounding name, but gotta put a 1 in it, so it sounds more like a robot. So she's Alita 1.
Battle Angel.
And yeah, Alita Battle Angel 1, and she's like Optimus. I'm forgetting what we're even fighting for. But then later, when Jetfire decides, I don't agree with genocide. I don't think we should kill this entire race. The whole point originally was to find peace and put our society back together, but not to kill everybody we don't agree with. So I loved that, and so again, you have several characters who, if they're all programmed to do what they do, it's like weirdly complicated and convoluted. Like, why would they all be programmed to do those different things? And why would you need?
I guess.
And why would you need the Matrix? That like chooses the leader if you're all just predetermined to do all that. Like, if it's like, well, there's one person whose heart is most in the right place and is going to be the best leader. The Matrix always picks that person. Well, then how come the Matrix wouldn't just be built into that person in the first place? So I guess I'm not totally sure how much predestination is in there, but I don't know.
That's a good point. No, that makes sense. And as we're talking about it, I'm kind of having a bigger problem not seeing regular civilization or
yes.
the ravageness of war that has caused civilization to break down on Cybertron. Like, that's kind of a problem too, because it was all fighting.
There are hints of it's all fighting. It's all talking about how things used to be better. There's a part of me that almost wished this had started in a different place, or dare I say, I don't want to say I wish we had flashbacks, because you know how I feel about flashbacks usually. But it might have been cool if we'd opened this with an episode or two, like before all this happened, just to get a sense of what the society used to be like. It's almost like there's still another prequel to be made. Like, we get discussion about how there used to be art and culture, and a few things here and there, but Kareem, I have no idea what living in this world was like when it was more serene and when people seemed to get along, and it would also be nice to see what how the Autobots treated the Decepticons, because we might feel more for the Decepticons if we actually saw some of that.
And we could still get this, because this is the first chapter of I'm guessing a 3-part story, or
it's and they're calling it the War for Cybertron trilogy. I'm hoping that it continues after that. Some people in the comments said that it's apparently not going to do some of the same Earth stuff that Cybertron usually does, or that Transformers usually does. So that makes me wonder: is the Matrix going somewhere else? Or not the Matrix, the Allspark? Like, is it going somewhere else?
Yeah. I was gonna say I was really enjoying not being on Earth. I was like, I'm much rather this like a space opera kind of story, like outer space.
Well, and that's what's nice about the 86 movie, is that it is a space opera, and we're at Earth just at the beginning because that's the status quo of the TV show, and there's one kid who's with us in the movie, but it's all robots besides that. So this harkens back to that a lot. Like I said, these people clearly have a lot of reverence for that material, but it's easier to get your head around than that. It
almost feels like IDW Ninja Turtles in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where it takes the amalgam of everything. From what I know, like it takes what everyone likes and makes it like a streamlined story.
Yeah, and like I said, originally I kind of thought maybe this was supposed to be in that same continuity. So I mean, it's more Gen 1 than it is anything, but it is definitely cribbing from a lot of different places. Like I said earlier, I do really like the idea of all of the, shades of gray, the moral ambiguity. And I don't want to repeat myself, but one of the things I'm confused about, though, going back to that point about are they races or are they factions? So how did Bumblebee wind up the way he is? Like, why isn't he an Autobot or a Decepticon? Like, if there's a caste system at the beginning, and you're just thrown into a caste and a job, what was he doing before the war? Like, because anybody that used to be one thing and changed their stripes, you notice they're not able to just push a button and now they have a Decepticon logo. Like, they keep whatever logo they had. So was he just born without a logo, and why? And it's odd that that we're finding out now, thanks to the audience, that this is its own continuity, because I kept thinking, okay, Transformers fans are going to understand why this is, but I don't, because I'm not in the know. But if it's a brand new thing, its own thing, then maybe not. And even if so, it needs to tell us because it started over.
It's going to be interesting seeing the next chapter, I'll say. I hope they do a little bit more of the background of the world. The mythology is the thing that really gripped me into this world.
Ultratron says the factions didn't exist before the war happened. It was just caste. Okay, if that's the case, I don't know why we're talking about them about it like the races.
I thought they were races.
Like, I just feel like it's having its cake and it's eating it too much on that. Like, it's doing both things simultaneously. But yes, I'm with you. I'm with you on the mythology.
Do you think this is appropriate for kids?
I would certainly show it to. Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Yeah, because I saw some people were like it wasn't. And I was like, why? I guess because of the subject matter.
There's a couple of small swears, but nothing major. I mean, any kid that you show the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie to, I think you could show this.
Yeah.
A minute ago, I was going to say I would show it to my 10-year-old, but I think I'd show it to Freddie, too.
It has that 80s
my 5-year-old.
That people love.
Oh, DJ just left. There's no DJ anymore. Oh, there he is. But anyway, okay, so originally I said we were just going to throw out a couple things at the beginning and then start answering questions, but that never ends up working out with these with these spoiler things. And I had too much I wanted to talk about, so I just felt like we had to go to a spoiler place. Kareem, before we start answering questions, I want to throw a... Well, you wanted to talk about visuals, and maybe we didn't do that, so...
I just wanted to say, like, it looks pretty to me. There's a lot of colors, and I really like the style. I normally have a problem with, like, 3D animation and stuff like that. But this looked very, very good. I think it's because there's no humans, and I can buy that these are a bunch of warring robots.
It felt like this odd, almost amalgamation to me between 2D and 3D. Like, it is 3D animation, but there's, like... It's almost like, I don't know if this makes any sense, it's almost like you're looking at flat lines that then are given depth. And I love that look. I think that's really cool. I like the look of it more than I like the action, if that makes any sense. Like, I felt like, and maybe this is just because of the 86 movie, I just felt like the fights were really slow. For Transformers, but it's a pretty talky show. Like, every time people are just standing around talking, it's great, and like, I'm not hating the action, but I wasn't finding myself enjoying it on the level of an action show. I never got like pumped when the battles happen, and they don't last very long. Like, these people are not interested in that stuff. It's about the discussions of the ethical conundrums and the conflict and the existential nature of some of it. Like,
I have the same thing you have. Like, I like the philosophical discussions and stuff. I'm not really a battle kind of person. Like, you have to really rip me in. So I was kind of nodding off a little bit at the end. But
yeah,
I didn't really have a problem with the action scenes.
Okay.
I was surprised they went that far with just blowing holes in people's chests. I was like, wow.
But see, that was always the thing with Transformers, is you can get away with in a kids thing, and I'm not saying this is a straight up kids thing, because things are more complicated now. Like, this is as much for the people that grew up with it, and you're probably going to get more 30s and 40 somethings to watch this even than kids. But it's but you can get away with more of that when it's robots and not people.
Yeah, that's true. That's always true.
So, a couple of complaints I want to throw out real quick before we take any questions on this show. One of them is, like I said earlier, I think Optimus Prime is early on a little bit silly with some of his strategy. And what's weird is everyone calls him on it. Like, it's not like the show thinks that he's smarter than he is, which makes it seem like the show has decided that their leader, who for some reason got the matrix of leadership, is not that good of a leader. And there are places where I guess he is, but the second episode, I was like, Optimus Prime, what are you doing? So Ultra Magnus gets kidnapped. By the way, Ultra Magnus has walks up to Megatron in Megatron's stronghold, right? And he's wearing this hilarious like blanket thing to cover his face. He's got this like wandering
cool,
nomad thing. Yeah, it looks great, but here's what's so silly about it to me. The distinguishing features of the Transformers are not their face, it's everything else. So when he walks in with a thing on his head, and nobody recognizes who he is, that is absurd in the best way possible. Like, really? He's gonna have to take this off before they go, oh, it's Ultra Magnus. Like, the rest of his body is what tells you it's Ultra Magnus.
I almost wanted him to have the glasses, nose, and the mustache thing.
So he gets kidnapped, and then he pretty conveniently, I think, overhears Megatron's plan to go after the Allspark, which nobody knows if that even exists or not. It's like a legend. And then Optimus Prime immediately. So that's supposed to be like the thing, like the most powerful thing on Cybertron, and it allegedly keeps the planet together. It's like the Zeo crystal in the 2017 Power Rangers movie. And it's like if he takes this and weaponizes it, he's going to reformat all of the Autobots into Decepticons. And that's when they're talking about genocide. So it's genocide if they kill them all, and it's also genocide if they do that. According to all the characters in this show, it's a little bit odd. And so Ultra Magnus overhears this in his jail cell, and he calls up Optimus Prime and he leaves a message. And he's like, "Hey, Optimus Prime, they're gonna find the Allspark. This thing, if we don't even know if it exists." And Optimus Prime's like, "We've got to get our hands on that first, right?" And so then everybody around him says, "Look, Optimus, he's in the hands of the Decepticons. You can't trust him. It may not even be him talking." And Optimus is, and there are several scenes where Alita, Battle Angel 1, and other characters are like, you really can't trust this. And he goes, "Well, I'm an optimist, and I choose to trust my friend." And I'm like, okay, but everybody's telling you that a lot of different things could be happening right now. Like, he could be mind controlled, and it could be not his voice. And then guess what happens later? What happens later is Soundwave sends another message in his voice and says, "We found the Allspark." And Optimus trusts that too. And I'm like, This is preposterous, because like I don't see this from his perspective at all. Like, what does this have to do with optimism? How about just battle strategy? Like, it might not be him talking, and then at some point it's not him talking.
I attributed it to he's a radical too. Like, it'd almost be better if you made Optimus more eccentric as a character. Yeah. Like, he's just so crazy and battle driven that he's ignoring all, like, critical thinking.
Yeah, and then Alita is like, "Well, you're just too optimistic for your own good, Optimus." And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. Like, he just isn't listening to reason.
I like that he had a council though, but yeah, you're right. He didn't listen to them much.
Yeah, but then, like, what's the point? Because he never pays enough attention to them. So I thought that was weird. And then, here's another thing I'm going to complain about. So it is too many episodes in before we understand fully what Optimus's plan actually is with, when he gets a hold of the Allspark, and then plans to use a space bridge that they're going to have Ratchet fix to send it someplace else so that Megatron can't get his hand on it and weaponize it, right? Early on, or actually all the way until like episode 5, I'm going, okay, Optimus, why are you spending all of your time and resources, unless it's mentioned earlier and I missed it, but I don't think it is. I watched the first 4 episodes twice. 5 and 6 I only saw once, but I went through the first 4 episodes again before I watched 5 and 6. And as far as I could tell, it's not mentioned until episode 5 that he's going to need the Allspark and have the space bridge open simultaneously. He says in 5, we have to do all of it at once, which is the reason that he's been using so much time and resources to get the bridge repaired, and not as much to find the thing they need. So I'm spending the whole show going, like, why are you're getting ahead of yourself, Optimus? Like, why are you making this plan based to use a thing that Megatron is after that you don't even know if it exists or where it is? And then at 5, he goes, well, we need both. Like everything has to work at the same time. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I guess it makes more sense that you've been doing that this whole time now, but you didn't tell me that. And then when they get their hands on it, it's like an energy ball, and then it just turns into like a D20 with some different symbols on it, and it seems like you can hold it in your hands, so I don't really know why they needed it right away. It seemed like he could just put it in his robot pocket and walk around with it. So, like, that was the biggest kind of plot hole for me, Kareem. Was like, did he really need to be building that? Like, wouldn't it have made more sense to spend more time looking for it? And then there's a character early on, I forget who it was, who's like, why don't we just let Megatron go look for the thing? We don't even know if it exists. And that made more sense to me. But I don't know why Optimus was really, really sure about its existence. Because it's not like he knew any more about it than anybody else did.
It is a little contrived. I didn't catch that. You know, with all the Matrix talk, I kind of wanted to cross over.
Yeah, absolutely.
that would explain everything. The Transformers are stuck in the Matrix. You just get deja vu.
So those were my big things. DJ, I didn't mean to go 50 minutes before we started answering anything, but Yeah, it's difficult figuring out how to combine reviews with this show. So, DJ, are you seeing any questions about this specifically that we can get into, and then we can talk about some others now?
Yeah, we got 2 super chats about it, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to hang on this show because you guys are like cutting out every other word for me, and that's why I dropped out to try to come back in. I don't know why. I don't know if it's my connection or something, but I'm gonna try.
Oh man. Okay, sorry
me.
about that. If that keeps happening and you have to get going, just send me the list of questions you have, and I'll tackle the super chats. Okay. So why don't you throw something?
Let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, you're fine. We got you, no problem.
Okay.
DJ, why don't you throw us a question, and then why don't you attempt going out and coming back in again, and maybe just like close your program and then come back in.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do. So I'll ask these two. The first one's not really that much of a question, but I'll ask the second one too. Bag Studio says, started in dumb transformer mode, immediately had to switch to intellectual mode. Very impressed. And when Omega Supreme showed up, I fell in love.
Yeah, that part's cool. I mean, I figured one of those Guardians had to do something at the end. Because they keep them, Kareem, like in shadow where they won't let you see him. And I'm like, well, there's going to be a big reveal of one of these later.
That was the stuff I was most interested in.
And then John Ty gives us a $10 super chat. The hardcore fans thought the dramatic pauses when they were talking was a bit obnoxious. The fans wanted the mini-series to show the backstory rather than tell it, and the Autobots are jerks.
I understand that. I meant to mention this earlier, Kareem. The bigger issue I had with voiceover stuff is it is too evident in a lot of places that none of these actors were in the same room. Okay, so DJ's gone for a bit. Hopefully he's able to come back. But anyway, so there are a lot of places where Optimus is responding to things with the wrong inflections. I don't know if you caught that. Or if you had that. Not to make a joke, but it did feel robotic. Like, in the wrong kind of sense. It felt a little unnatural. Because the little stuff I did see with Transformers, it felt more organic. But I did have a little bit of that. Especially with Alita and Optimus for some reason. Yeah, that was the main thing. They have a few exchanges where she'll say a thing, and then he'll respond with that same idea as if he thought of the idea and was not responding to her. And I thought that was really strange.
I thought the best exchange, we talked about it earlier, is the Megatron and Optimus thing. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was. I didn't have the dramatic pause issue, though.
But again, we're not fans.
No,
we're not part of it.
That's true. DJ, can you hear us okay? Is it any better?
I can hear you. It's about the same though.
Sorry, man.
I'll see. I'll try to keep going.
I don't know what's going on. Well, we'll hold down the fort if you need to get going, man. It's no problem.
No, it's okay. So you got John Ty's question answered?
Yep.
All right. Well, those are the only major ones. There's just some people talking in the chat. Leona's song says it was great seeing Ratchet in a different role compared to Transformers Prime and Transformers Animated. I think Ratchet is my favorite character across the different series I've seen.
Yeah, I was impressed with that as well. I wish he was still Jeffrey Combs from Transformers Prime, but we can't get any of the voices that we want apparently. As soon as he comes in and they start talking about how he's a mechanic, I'm like, he fixes stuff. I'm like, so he's not gonna be a doctor or a healer in this one, and then he's both, and I thought that was pretty cool.
He's my favorite character.
He's really neat in this, and then they have their own doctor in Red Alert, and I don't know if he gets killed or not, but I'm assuming that if he doesn't, he's going to, because Ratchet is usually their doctor.
Okay, cool. He says his name is pronounced Lioness Song.
Yep.
I don't recognize that name.
No, he's been here several times, DJ.
Oh, I've never read it. So there's a lot of questions about other things. How do we want to do this?
Let's just get into some other things. Unless Kareem, you have any last thoughts about that whole thing?
I like Transformers now.
Yeah, there's a lot of other places we could go and other things we could talk about, but we've already spent an hour on this somehow. I have no concept of time, so let's get into other things that people really want to talk about.
All right, William Purcell, if the Snyder Cut is successful, do you think other studios will start looking at doing odd remakes / reboots of films with the same cast as a viable option?
What do you think, Kareem? I'll let you field this first.
It'd be interesting to see, especially with the whole pandemic thing going on, and I don't know about you guys in your respective states, but my state, the theaters are not really opened up, so I think the streaming, outside of the pandemic was a natural thing to do. So I think if it is successful, it will cause a lot of studios to rethink and just, make fan cuts and stuff like that. So I think so. I think that's a natural way to go.
I think in the next 2 to 3 years especially, we're likely to see some of that.
Yeah.
And of course, streaming services don't release their numbers, so it may be difficult for other studios to even tell how well it does. But if there's a general buzz, if there's a sense that this is the big thing right now, somebody put out a cut of a movie that people were clamoring for a long time, for 5 years, never thought we'd get it, and then we finally got it. Then studios might look at their back catalog and be like, what are things that people have always, we've still got the masters. What are things that people have always wanted to see the other cuts for? Things like Fan 4 Stick and stuff like that. People forever have said, we really wish, we know that this was compromised. We know that this is not even a complete movie, or that's missing a lot of stuff in the middle. And I think it could be a double-edged sword. I think it could be a good thing and a bad thing. There are a lot of, going backwards, there's a lot of those movies that I'd like to see the director's cuts of, or what was lying on the cutting room floor. What was the movie in the first place? A lot of people right now are talking about an air cut for Suicide Squad. Of course, I'd like to see what in the world he thought he was making versus the 2-hour trailer that we got. But I think the problem with it moving forward could be studios going, and I feel like Warner's already sort of has this a little bit with the other releases that they've had of Snyder's movies before BVS, where it's like, well, we'll release a safe cut, and if that isn't successful, then we'll give people what we actually made. And that's not likely to happen as much if the movie theater system remains the way we're used to, but Kareem, I think if we get into a place where that system changes a lot, and you have a lot more movies coming out coming out at home in the first place, or even they're in the theater for just a couple of weeks and then you get them very quickly on video, we could start to see this attitude of movies are, even when we release them, never done. It's never finished. We can keep messing with it and tweaking it forever, and art stops being finite at all. And people already complain a lot about the Star Wars special editions from a couple decades ago and things like that. It was like, once a thing is done, can it just be done? And we can have that debate, of course, about whether or not you should ever change anything retroactively. Is it okay as long as, unlike the Lucas with the Lucas cuts, the originals are still around and you can watch them? But I would hate to be in a place where all art is in limbo all the time.
It feels like the things that make these things are in limbo, so I think you're naturally going to have that. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a medium. I guess if you provide both versions, it's okay. It'd be nice to have the original version, then the director's cut. But I can see this being a trend, definitely.
I'm also more okay with that with movies that are standalone things and not part of a series. Because so much theatrical stuff is about making big budget episodes in a series, and we're going to have this question with BVS, man, or not BVS, with Justice League. Okay, which of those counts now? I mean, it's not as big of a deal, I guess, with the BVS and even the Suicide Squad cuts, because they're more or less still the same story. But if Justice League is drastically different, and then we keep making movies that look like they're set in the same continuity, which we're doing, then we go, okay, what events happened in what thing? So it's fine for something like Blade Runner, but do you want it for something like Justice League? You see what I'm saying?
I think the difference too is there's a large fan base that emotionally felt like they were cheated out of a version they deserved.
Yeah.
So I think that fed into it a lot. I think a lot of people...
Oh, yes, of course, but I'm just talking about whether or not it changes trends moving forward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I guess that would depend on each situation.
Yeah. I just mean, do we regularly want it for things like Justice League that are part of an ongoing series?
I personally wouldn't.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. It's difficult to say.
Okay, DJ, what else you got, man?
Logan Dodd. Hate to make this awkward, but thoughts on Netflix's Cuties situation?
I've not looked into that. I don't know. I've seen headlines. I don't know anything about it. It looked like Netflix made some... Is it like a reality TV thing about little kids and everybody's up in arms about it? I don't know what it is. I've not looked at it.
Same.
Yeah, I googled it. Apparently, it's like it's a film made by a French director that they're promoting, and it's about like a 11-year-old girl finding her sexual awakening and like overcoming her Muslim restrictive culture. With all the advertising, so people are kind of revolted by it because it's like sexualizing 11-year-old girls.
Well, and did I hear that Netflix took the trailer down, and maybe it won't even get released now, or did it get released? Like, I really know nothing about this. I saw headlines. That's all I saw. Yeah, I didn't look into it. When I saw screenshots of it, I thought maybe the deal was it was just some like innocent movie that was showing a bunch of like footage of 8-year-olds playing together, and people were like freaking out about it because it's like because no, you can't do that anymore. You can't show cute little kids anymore. It's disturbing. Like, I thought that's what it was. If it's that, I get why there's backlash.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can clarify more. That was Logan Dodd. I don't know if he knows more about it, and he probably does if he's asking about it. TH1, you have the power to make any fictional character real with all the power/abilities. What character is now in our world? You run an awesome channel.
Well, I'll tell you who it's not. Thank you very much. It's not the Powerpuff Girls. I'll tell you that much. Or if it is the Powerpuff Girls, they're still cartoons. They come into the real world, but they still look like they look, and they fly around. They don't have hands. Okay, but who would it actually be for you, Kareem?
That is a great question that I never thought about. I don't want to be boring and say Superman.
But if that's your answer, man.
Yeah. I mean, we need him, man. We need the real Superman right now. That's who I pick.
I have a hard time not going there as well, and other people in the comments are saying the same thing. It would... You know, it's also hard for me personally not to say the Tick, just because like I would actually live with that guy. But yeah, other things. I mean, the actual Captain Picard, not the one with his name in the title of a thing that's not Star Trek, but like Picard. For some of the same reasons as with Superman, you know, just so that he, I mean, I realize that he was born in France and has a British accent, but like, if I could elect him president, you know, he'd be the guy. And I still say that that Eric lost that debate 4 years ago, and that he should have been president in our mock presidential election, over Ben Kenobi. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. DJ, who would you pick? Who would you bring to life, DJ?
These two are Transformers ones. 5590 ERS. Oh, me?
Yeah.
I think that's what you said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Cutting out. I don't know. People are saying Green Lantern, Doctor Fate, Captain America, Wonder Woman. TH1 said Spawn.
No.
No.
Oh, if he counts, then definitely. Rockman says Sherlock Holmes could be a good one.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Is it not superhero? I don't even remember what I read. Oh, yeah.
I think it was just fictional character. Yeah, who would you pick?
Yeah. My goodness. Snuffleupagus?
That would be hilarious if you picked him and then only you could see him. So, like, he's actually real, but nobody believes that he is, and it would be for everyone else the exact same situation as if you hadn't done that.
Except I would slowly go insane and have trust issues.
I think that might be happening right now, regardless, with this lag, and you're not being able to hear us.
Yeah,
I think
it's so hard to speak.
Slowly driving you insane.
Yeah. Anyway, 5590RS, have you guys read Batman Ego by Darwin Cook?
No, and after
I have not read that.
After it was brought up by, you know about that, Kareem, it was brought up by Matt Reeves as his deep pull.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why he's bringing that up, I'm sure. So he was asked. It was a great question because a lot of the questions in some of those panels during fandom were really generic and really easy, low-hanging fruit. And that was actually a really good question. That was hands down the best panel. And he was asked pick a deep pull thing in Batman that actually influenced your movie, and that's what he said. And I was so stoked that he picked a thing I've not read. Because I mean, I haven't read anything like everything, but with as much Batman as I've read, the guy making that movie went to a thing that I've never read and frankly didn't even know about. Like, I've heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. And I was like, man, that's cool. So no, I have not read that, and it makes me want to review it. I wonder if we won't see a whole bunch of channels in the next couple of weeks review that book. It's like, I haven't heard of this, but Matt Reeves mentioned it. I guess we better talk about it.
That's interesting. I never read it. I thought he was going for the year 2 thing. Is there a thing? There's a Batman year 2, right?
There's I think so. Yeah. But I mean, he keeps saying year 2, like it's the second year. But I don't know if the story of that book, whatever that is actually informing that movie or not. I think it's simply the time period it's set in. I think he's making a big deal out of year 2. Because people are used to that terminology, year 1, year whatever, and 2, clearly he knows comics some, so he's talking about it in those terms. But also he's saying it's not an origin story. It's not, and also it's not Frank Miller's year 1. Even if it was set in the period of the first year of Batman, he probably wouldn't say year 1 because that immediately conjures that story. But nobody knows what year 2 is, so it could be set in year 2, but have nothing to do with whatever that was. Oh, that's true, Blue Dragon 5. Yeah, forget what I just said, because he actually has been saying year 1 for that tie-in cop show they're making. He says that is Batman year 1. Okay. But it's not. It's probably not year 1. It's just year 1. Everybody see what I'm talking about?
We follow you. Except for
everybody following?
John Ty. The first issue, he just says the first issue of the Black Label book, 3 Jokers, is out.
Is it? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Kareem, everything about that is weird.
First of all, it's been like 6 years? 5 years? Since the announcement? Like, wasn't that in the 52 or end of the 52?
No, that was the beginning of Rebirth. That was
okay.
In. Well, I think there was some setup for it at the end of 52. The end of New 52. I guess I have to make sure and say the new because there's always inevitably one commenter who goes, "Cap 52 was a minute." Yeah, it's shorthand. We all know what we're talking about. Anyway, but I think there was some setup for that, but then at the beginning of Rebirth, in the big oversized Rebirth issue that gives you the whole Watchmen setup, which also took forever to finally happen and has not been as intrinsically connected as everybody expected it to be. There was the setup for the 3 Jokers thing, and it seemed like that was supposed to be the new status quo, where like there were going to be 3 different Jokers running around, and then all of a sudden. We bring him in Tom King's Batman run, and I'm like, wait, Joker's just around? Like, how did that happen? You remember that? Like, even before War of Jokes and Riddles, which is a prequel, he's just there? And I'm like, what? I think there was like a big conversation with him and Catwoman or someone, and I'm like, what? Wait, why is he here? And so then we just abandoned that? And now it's Black Label?
I think they're just doing a one-off story.
So it's not in continuity even? Because I don't think any of Black Label has been so far. I think Black Label's kind of the new Elseworlds. I mean, it may be that they're doing some Black Label books that are in continuity, and the whole idea is that they're just the big oversized thing, and they're more adult, and that's why they're Black Label. I guess I don't know.
I want to say some of Snyder's stuff is in continuity, but I could be wrong about the Three Jokers thing. I think it's outside of continuity, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I gotta address
it's been
this.
So long.
I gotta address this. William Parcell says, Cap, they confirmed that Doomsday Clock isn't canon for the main DC universe.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. Everything about that is insane. What is the point of it then? Like, why does it even exist? It's like, we're gonna do this sequel to Watchmen that's gonna be about bringing Watchmen to the DC universe. Nope, it's not canon anymore. I don't even like what I've read of that, but what is the point of doing it? And then you have the button. So the button is in continuity, but that's not? What is happening?
Welcome to comics, kids.
So clearly what happened is we abandon a notion too late, right? So like the button gets put out where while we think that we're still setting all this stuff up, and then we just have to retcon everything because we abandoned the whole thing. Probably partly because Doomsday Clock took so long that there were 4 other events in between its first and last issue.
Alan Moore, I feel your pain.
Cinematographic said that makes no sense. It makes no sense! Okay, anyway, let's move on. If that's true, I mean, I know I'm just responding to something somebody said in the comments. Maybe that's not true, but I bet it is. And if it is, oh my god. So that is completely pointless. And I get requests for it all the time. I'm still gonna have to review it. It's totally pointless. Okay. Just do a sequel to Watchmen! Right. If you're gonna do it! Like, I don't necessarily want that, but I don't want a DC crossover thing if it's not gonna whatever. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna read this one, and I'm gonna read the next one, and I'm gonna get you guys started, and I'm gonna go restart my computer to see if it'll fix this. So this one is from T-Edge1. Donald Mustard said, "Crack-a-doom is the best comic book sound effect ever. What is your favorite comic book sound effect? You're awesome. Stay geeky." And the next one is from John Ty. It's just thoughts on the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer.
Okay, cool. Well, we will tackle both of those.
Comic book sound effect.
And we'll see if the show ends before you get back, DJ. Thanks, buddy. Okay, so thanks for the super chat, Tom and John. So, do you have, Kareem, a favorite sound effect in comics? That's a great question.
That's a great question. My favorite Marvel thing is X-Men, and my favorite X-Man is Nightcrawler and the Bamf. I'm a fan of the Bamf. I also like the TWIP, the Spider-Man TWIP thing. But the Crack-a-Doom thing is it the Thunderstrike? I usually see it.
Yeah, Crack-a-Doom is, I think, early Thor. But stuff like that is used constantly in Simonson. And man, it's just been too long since I've read that. But there's I mean, Bamf is up there. My favorite is one of, man, I can't remember what it was. I can't think of it. But there's a sound effect that they use constantly when Surtur is on his way out, and they go back in Death of Superman and kind of homage that. And remember that Simonson's wife is working on that book, so I bet that's part of why that happens. But with Doomsday, so Doomsday's punching out. Surtur is on his way, and he's doing the like hammer slam thing. And man, there's some.
That's gonna kill you.
It's gonna drive me crazy. Yeah, but it's like that, but it's not exactly that. But anyway, yeah.
There's the classic Wolverine, the Snicked.
Snicked, yep.
And then I'm a fan of the '90s laser gun thing, the Kazak.
Oh yeah, we used a lot of Z's back then.
Yeah.
Also, I don't understand why you need an exclamation point if your letters are already that big. Because, like, it's already kind of an exclamation, but, like, I'm not saying I don't like the exclamation, but yeah, but... And also, we start those back when nobody can make like the most mundane sentence in a comic book without an exclamation point. Like, if you go back to Golden Age comics, and even early Marvel, everything everyone says has an exclamation point at the end of it. You could be like, Mom, I'm going to the store to get some eggs! Exclamation point! Like, everything is an exclamation. Everything's exciting in early comics.
The 90s Marvel has the a million characters on a page, and then their names magically on top of each other.
Yep. DJ, is it any better?
It sounds better so far.
Your computer restarts very quickly.
Man, I'm Speedy. I'm so excited I can hear you. Oh my goodness.
I'm excited too, DJ. Man, I'm really sorry you had to listen to a 50-minute review, or you had to listen to every other word of a 50-minute review of a thing you didn't watch.
It was great because it sounded like you were speaking in Transformer because you guys sounded like complete robot gibberish. Like,
we were on Cybertron. Scrap.
So I got to experience that. So you guys didn't start on Wonder Woman 84 trailer yet?
We haven't. Did you see it, Kareem?
I did. I'm excited for it.
I
don't know.
Too.
I'm a big movie person. I like to go to the movie theaters. My movie theaters are not open. Like, I don't know how I'm going to see it. When is it out?
I think right now it's
even if the movie theaters
November.
Yeah, even if the movie theaters like open up, like outside of the whole movie experience, I don't think I'm going to go to the theater. But I'm excited. It looks great.
Yeah, I'm feeling funky about that whole thing, too. I've been real back and forth about whether or not I'm going to go to New Mutants, but, like, people are going to want to see that reviewed. So, like, I was, like, right now I'm tentatively planning to review that on Tuesday with Connor, but, like, I don't want to go to movie theaters. I don't want to have to sit for 2 hours in a seat wearing a mask. Like, it's not going to be any fun. I don't know.
It's been delayed like 7 times. You gotta go, man.
Yeah, I mean, I probably will, but I don't know. But I'm not like super comfortable about it. It's complicated. If I wasn't doing this, I would probably wait.
Oh yeah, that comes out tomorrow here. Yes, right. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's about to come out. Blue Dragon 5 just said don't risk it all for New Mutants. But I have to go to the theater to see a movie that was made in 2015.
Cheetah looks great in the Wonder Woman trailer.
Yes! They're playing that so straight. It's just, and there's Cheetah. Yep, that's what she looks like. There you go. I love Diana's reaction to her when she just goes, "What did you do?" It's so good. The whole Steve Trevor being the fish out of water this time, and Diana having to acclimate him to the 80s looks potentially really fun. It's a nice reversal. It's maybe the obvious thing to do, but I didn't think of it before they revealed that he was going to be in this, and getting to see a couple of scenes where they're doing that, it looks fun. It could be played for obnoxious comedy, but it wasn't last time. Like, I trust these people to do that well. They did it last time with her. So his whole crack about everybody parachuting in now in the 80s is pretty funny, and him not knowing about radar. Like I like that a lot too. Like, a fighter pilot from from the teens and the 20s shows up in the 1980s, where the tail end of when we still have those, where you can still do a Top Gun, but not for very much longer. Like, that could be really interesting. And I think have they confirmed for sure that we're getting the Invisible Jet this time? I feel like I read that somewhere. I don't know, but I'm hoping that happens.
Not sure about that. I
But
hope
yeah,
they do something a little bit more nuanced with his character, because like at the end of the day, he's dead. Like, is it a mental image, or like, I hope it's not cliche.
I hope to heck that he's actually really there. Yeah, I had that thought too, and I don't think there's anything that for sure confirms or denies that in the trailers we've seen so far. Like, I don't know if I don't remember him interacting with anything in particular that makes it definitely, sure that he's there. Because if he's just in her head for some reason, even if even if it's not a hallucination and it actually makes sense that he's there, it's gonna be a little tedious having to, watch her interact with him the whole time. And if they do the thing where we're not supposed to know it until the end of the movie, that would be the worst. Surely they don't do that.
That's what I don't want.
They can't do that. Because everybody's going to be thinking that when they walk in. I'm hoping that there's just a really good explanation for why he's there, and it's to be fair, I mean, it's very difficult to do that and not, deflate his character and his sacrifice from the end of the first movie, because I thought all that worked really well, and, I don't know really how you get away with that. I was initially kind of hoping that he was just playing his son, like has been done, in the 70s TV show. But then that also being a romance is a thing that you could get away with a few decades ago that I think is weirder for people now. I just don't think people would accept that, so they probably can't do that. Blue Dragon 5 says, well, he's trying on parachute pants, but it's not a sure thing. Yeah, I mean, he could be, a mental projection that's trying on mental cargo pants, I guess. But I don't think that's what... Something tells me, Kareem, that he's really there. I just need him in a trailer to punch a guy so that I can be sure. I need him to punch someone. I need him to order food and have it handed to him by another person. I just need him to be physically interacting with someone else in a way that cannot possibly be in her imagination.
I never know. You never know, man. There's a dead guy in Umbrella Academy that can punch people.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, you gotta watch that show.
Yeah, I guess he could be the Spectre or something, right? William Purcell, one theory I had was that it has something to do with Hades, since we're doing Greek myths and he's the god of the dead. And I hope we do some more Greek mythology stuff in this. Tom, $5 Super Chat, says the Young Reader's novel has revealed it, and the first act and a half...
Whoa.
What's up?
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Well, no, I'm not going to read what it... He didn't say what it is. He's just saying it's in the first act and a half, and it's a key part in the story. Well, that's good.
Okay.
No, I don't mind spoiling that it will make sense and that it's early in the movie. That's fine. That will make people more likely to want to go, I bet. If that's true. Ariel Ace, didn't Ares kill all the gods in the first Wonder Woman? That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Well, maybe some of them were
What's my
stuck
least
around.
favorite part in that first movie at the end?
Oh, the speechifying is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Suddenly, for 10 minutes, it turns into the movie that I thought it was going to be when I walked in. But the rest of the movie is so good, it didn't kill it.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew Bay says that he punches a guy in the first trailer. Okay, good! He punched a guy. Let's move on. Anything else you wanted to mention about that trailer? I mean, I'm excited. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like exactly what I want, so...
I can't wait.
But you might, because you don't want to go to the theater.
I'm going to wait.
Speaking of that...
In fact, you can wait. You just don't want to.
2020.
TH1 says, thoughts on Tenet only going to drive-ins apartly? I think he means apparently.
I didn't know about
apparently.
That what's happening?
He says that Tenet is only going to drive-ins apparently.
See, unless a bunch of new drive-ins open up, that's just going to be a mistake. I know that Walmart has a plan to do a bunch of like drive-in things in their parking lot, but I don't know if they're going to be able to actually show new movies. I've been assuming that they're just getting their hands on old films. When they do that, there's going to be a lot of places where people just won't be able to see them. I live in a big city, and we've only got one or two drive-ins here, and I don't know if I'll be able to get into one to see anything that only opens at a drive-in. So I don't know.
That's not true though, because it's playing at my theater on Monday.
Oh, okay. Well then, our thoughts are. I guess that's not happening.
Sound system and the IMAX stuff. I'm like, how is that going to work?
And he made
he's a big soundtrack guy.
And he made a really big deal out of it's got to be in movie theaters.
Yeah.
Anime Tenet is only going to some drive-ins. That's actually been fairly controversial. Why has it been controversial? Just because they're not going in all of them? I'm just not in the know on this. I don't know what's controversial.
Maybe
about that.
people don't want to see one of his movies in a drive-in because he's such a film guy.
That looks great though, the Tenet movie.
Yeah. So you said Monday? Is that coming out next week?
My theater website, I have it right here. It says it's coming Monday the 31st.
It's a weird time to open a movie. I mean, I get that things are weird right now, but like
it's a weird time period, Cap.
you're gonna so now the movies that are opening in theaters, we can't even guarantee that they'll be on Friday anymore.
There's only 16 seats available in the theater.
Wow.
Man,
They're all spaced out.
So not only do I have to decide if I'm going to start going to theaters again, but I'm going to have to when I do start going, review a bunch of new movies.
You're gonna have to wear a hazmat suit.
Yeah. I really want to, I don't know. If it wasn't too sweaty, I would just go to movie theaters in a Spider-Man costume. Wearing glasses over the mask. All right. Well, DJ, is that all the super chats, man?
That is all, sir.
Okay. You got any good pre-written stuff? Because we haven't done very much of that, and then we could go ahead and call it a day right after that.
Let me see.
Thank you guys all for popping in to watch us talk about Transformers and some other stuff. You guys are great. We appreciate you. And Kareem, thanks for hanging out with us, man. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Mutale says, if you had a 1 hour until assassins come and kill you like John Wick, what would you do in that hour?
Wow.
Watch Birds of Prey? Or some of it?
I don't know. That TV show's better than some other things, but I'm not dignifying that movie with a response.
Sorry,
I'm not dignifying that movie with a response. No, I'm not watching that thing that they called Birds of Prey for some reason.
Yeah, you know. 1 hour. I mean, I would just grab my wife and kids, probably.
I would
just grab them?
Just grab them and hold them.
Just grab them!
For the first 30 minutes, and then I would spend the other 30 minutes getting them the heck away so they wouldn't get killed with me.
That's a really tough question. Yeah, what would you do, Kareem?
I would play Nat King Cole's Unforgettable and just fight in slow motion. And throw a coffee mug at my door. That says 300.
And then at the end of that hour, you just come out a window, also in slow motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have a guy that I used to work with just investigate my death.
And
dude, that is the definitive answer to that question. That's amazing.
Yeah, and write a note before he throws you out the window that says, I did not kill myself. Make it a lot easier for everybody.
See, if I had a little more than an hour, I think I would fight crime. Because because when I'm wanting to like live the rest of my life, and I think I have a future, I'm not putting on a suit and going out and fighting crime because I'm probably getting killed, right? But if I know I'm gonna die, then I might finally put on a costume and just see what that's like. You know, it's like
I feel like if you did that, you would die sooner than an hour.
No, what would probably happen is I just wouldn't find any crime, right? Like that would be my luck, is I'd run out, I'd stand on a suit, and I would basically accidentally be like Deflator Mouse or Batman Well for an hour. I'd try to look cool. I also wouldn't have enough time to work out to make that look good, so I'd be like a really pathetic looking superhero, standing on a roof.
It would be like that.
The look is key. Sorry.
It'd be like that scene in Super where he's just sitting behind the dumpster, like waiting for crime to happen all night.
But I don't know, I would probably do something...
You gotta recruit people.
Whatever it was, I would do something really dangerous. You know, it would be like the whole... Because I've always wanted to go out on some kind of, like, really, really crazy, memorable note. And if you knew you were about to die, you could really get away with that. So, like, you know, as long as it wasn't too horribly painful, DJ, I guess I wouldn't mind getting killed in that hour. I mean, I'm with you. The real answer is probably something with my family. Like, I have an hour left. You know, I'm going to spend it with my family.
But that's boring.
But if they're all busy and they have better things to do, and I have an hour and I can't get to them, you know, because the after dark answer is, and I imagine like most married men that actually like their wives would have this. You'd sleep with your wife, right? Like that's what you'd do. But
the whole hour, yes.
And again, I'm not trying to make this after too after darky, but like I'm just trying to be truthful. Like, that's what a lot of us would probably do. But, if she's got better things to do, then I'd probably go do something else really dangerous.
Well, you would go skydiving, but you would go skydiving again, but this time without a parachute.
Sure?
That's what Cat's doing
So
when he
wait.
gets 50,000 subscribers.
So you've interpreted my answer as a really elaborate suicide attempt.
No,
Yeah. That's basically what you said. You said if I'm gonna die anyway, I might as well do something where I might die.
Yeah, might, not definitely will. And they'll throw yourself out of an airplane. Whatever, you're gonna die anyway. It's been something that, I wouldn't usually do.
Is he wearing a parachute? No, he's not.
No, he's not. Oh, then he's going to die then, because he's not Steve Rogers, and he can't land on a shield.
He is a captain, though.
That's true. It's the one thing we have in common, and we don't even have that in common, because he's an actual captain. Anyway, DJ, anything? Okay, throw one more question at us, and then I'm gonna complain about Powerpuff Girls.
All right, let me get someone who I haven't asked one yet. Blue Dragon 5, Captain DJ. If you could build, this is kind of an elaborate one. Maybe I shouldn't ask this one, but it's the only one I'm seeing. If you could build your own Suicide Squad lineup, who would it be, and who would you kill off? So I'm guessing you have to kill off one character like the movie. I don't know.
I would make it twice the size. Whatever characters I used, I'd make it twice the size of the group in the first Suicide Squad movie, and then I would kill off just those characters. Like, I'd get rid of all of them, and then I'd keep all the ones that I put in on purpose. No, I'm kidding. I don't hate. In fact, I thought, what was it? What's his name? It's not Diablo. What is that guy's name? The fire guy, the Hispanic fire guy. I actually liked him.
I think it is Diablo.
Yeah, that's his name. Anyway.
But I haven't seen the movie, so what do I know?
Man. Right away, I don't have a great response. It wouldn't be any of the new characters that James Gunn is using, because I haven't heard of most of them.
That was like so much fun.
I think Silver Banshee would be on it. I'd make it all Superman characters. It'd be like Silver Banshee and Cyborg Superman, just because I think that's really funny. Like you put a bomb in Cyborg Superman's head, and then he's like, I mean, I might survive this, honestly. And then like, imagine Doomsday. Like, you put a bomb in Doomsday's head, and you just tell him to go do things, and he's just like, Metropolis! And then you end up killing him very quickly because he doesn't know what you're saying. Kareem, do you have an answer to this? I can't think of anything real. I think an all Superman villain team could actually make a lot of sense for Suicide Squad. You put Metallo on that team. Just all robots that might survive.
Superman Red and Blue.
Superman Red and Blue. Those are not villains.
That's the only Superman comic I ever had as a kid. I had a Red and Blue.
If I have access to everything,
I'm so sorry.
DJ, it ends up being a different...
I'd pick the Kardashians and no one would make it.
Wow. Kareem, you can't choose real people.
Aww.
Good grief.
I'm just
The thoughts and opinions of our guests do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of Future Studios. We do not condone killing of reality TV show stars.
Just reality show in general.
I don't know what's going on tonight. Kareem said that. We got DJ trying to get me to jump out of a plane without a parachute. Like, or was that also Kareem? Who said that?
That was DJ.
I think it was Mutali.
Mutali, stop trying to get me to jump out of a plane without a parachute.
Mutali, stop announcing things that are going to happen.
Just stop announcing things. Okay, so we learned yesterday that the CW is developing, once again, another show that sounds ill-advised and horrible if you're me. And I'm not going to be nice about this because it really, really bugs me. Like I said earlier, I can't live in a world where this show exists. Is there some like minute, tiny chance that a thing like this could be good? I guess. But I mean, it's the CW. Like they don't make good stuff anymore. Like we had iZombie for a while, and that somehow managed to be great. Like if the right people were on it, I guess. But it's a horrible sounding premise, and it sounds like exactly what we did with Archie with Riverdale, which I've not seen, and I know there's people that really like that show, but it sounds awful. It's just let's take these characters and make it the exact opposite of what it was of the spirit of it, you know, from the comics. And as soon as that actually got greenlit, I should have seen this coming. I should have been like, oh man, if they did it with Archie, they're going to do it with Powerpuff Girls. And they are indeed going to do it with Powerpuff Girls. And I guess the CW has decided that, so here's the article. This is Variety. This is happening. Powerpuff Girls live action series in development at CW. Apparently, if you're, hey, look, Mountain Dew. I used to drink that. So, apparently...
They know you so well, Cap. They're trying to drag you back in.
These days, the CW has finally changed up their MO a little bit. So, instead of everything having to be a prequel reimagining, now sometimes they're going to be pointless sequels to things that didn't need sequels. So... You know, we've had this a lot with the CW where they like to go back and do prequel reimagining things, and you're like, I don't even know if there's a story in that. Here's a sequel sort of thing. Here's a sequel reimagining where I'm like, it doesn't sound like there's really a story in this, or if there is, it's not one I want to see. You guys gotta understand, Powerpuff Girls is one of my absolute favorite things, and we keep trying to bring it back in really weird, strange ways. And now what we're gonna do, if this actually goes to series, and I'm praying that it doesn't. This sounds like a pilot that they won't pick up, but nothing surprises me anymore. Keep in mind that this has happened a lot with CW. We've had, because I keep hearing from people, oh my god, you hear this is going to happen? A pilot will get made. That's all we know for sure. Anybody remember the Graysons? I mean, like this has happened with lots of you know comic and superhero stuff. Where there is.
Amazon?
There's an Amazon, yeah, where there's you know, mostly DC stuff where there's a pitch, or even there's a pilot made. Remember Aquaman? That was actually an okay pilot. I wish that had happened. But anyway, so the Powerpuff Girls could soon fly again. Variety has learned that a live-action version of the classic Cartoon Network series is in development at the CW. So this is the pitch, you guys. In the updated version of the series, the titular superheroes are now disillusioned 20-somethings who resent having lost their childhood to crime fighting. Yeah. Will they agree to reunite now that the world needs them more than ever? Like, is it April Fool's Day? Because this reads like an April Fool's Day article. The project hails from writers and executive producers Heather Regnier and Diablo Cody. And, of course, one of the executive producers is Greg Berlanti, and it's executive produced via Berlanti Productions. Naturally. So, I mean, like, this is going to be really, really detestable and hard to look at, right? Here's the thing. What you don't do with something like first of all, obviously, live-action Powerpuff Girls is a weird sell in the first place. It's a. Do I even need to explain this? I mean, it's a visually stylistic cartoon. It's all about absurdity. It's not supposed to exist in the real world. If you went like to the nines, really crazy, silly with it, and you went, let's try to realize all of the weirdness and wonderful absurdity of Powerpuff Girls in live action, I would be behind the attempt. I don't know what that looks like. But it sounds like that's not what they're doing. It sounds like they're doing exactly what Riverdale did, where they go, we've just got to put this in the standard CW house style. And I don't know who this is even for anymore, because they're selling to the same crowd they were selling to in 2001 with Smallville. All those people grew up. Like, those kinds of teenagers don't exist anymore. Like, I don't know who we're selling this to anymore. So it's like, we want to try to bank on nostalgia for Powerpuff Girls, but we're going to make it the opposite of what it was. So all we're going to do is anger all the actual Powerpuff Girl fans. So we're going to try to bring in new fans of this property with what doesn't sound remotely like a comedy to me at all. Like, is this even going to be a comedy? But it's going to have that title? Like, But it's not going to have that title, right? We don't know what it's called yet. But it's going to be called Townsville, right? That'll be the show. That's what they'll call it. It'll be Townsville. It'll be like really broody, and it'll have like when they do the first commercial, they'll have like really sad piano music, and it'll be like, or they'll make it like. They'll do it in a minor key. They'll do a minor key version of the Powerpuff Girls theme in sad piano.
It's like a synthwave, like a moody.
The original Powerpuff Girls was created by Craig McCracken, and of course he's not going to have anything to do with this at all. And he didn't have anything to do with the reboot of the last cartoon reboot, which was okay for a couple episodes, and then I think got pretty awful. But like, I don't know. McCracken is alive, and I want to say he's spinning in his grave. That's how much that's how much it's just wrong. Anyway,
how are they even going to be recognizable? They're just going to be like a blonde girl, a brunette girl, and a redheaded girl?
I guess. I mean, here's the main reason you don't make this show. There's an episode of Powerpuff Girls where they do a parody of precisely this. Yeah, it's the episode where they're in a closet remembering stuff. Or no, maybe it's not that one. Maybe it's a different one. I forget now. But there's this this idea one of them has where it's like we see a possible future for the Powerpuff Girls. It's just one of them like imagining something horrifying, and we see like the Powerpuff Girls, and I always thought that they did this just because it was a thing that fans must have always kind of imagined. So they're like, we'll show it, and we'll show you how dumb of an idea it is and how horrifying it would be. So they have like fully developed Powerpuff Girls as teenagers standing around in a mall talking like Valley Girls and like hating their lives, and then they're gonna make that show and try to play it serious.
I can't wait. Cap's gonna watch it. You know he's gonna watch it. He can't help himself.
Just do a marathon, Cap.
Oh.
It sounds like your worst nightmare.
No, it is. It is my worst nightmare. And I don't usually respond to things like this immediately saying this is going to be bad. I don't see how this is good. It's a bad point. Also, I always say you can make anything work, but
except live action.
I think there are exceptions to every blanket statement notion, and that look, live action Powerpuff Girls, could you make that work? Maybe. I don't know how. That premise, it's countered. It's wrong, right? Like, because it's not Powerpuff Girls. It's as much not Powerpuff Girls as BVS Superman is not Superman, but more so, by like a lot. Because it's like I talked to Eric about this over text, and I told him that pitch that they're they're upset because they lost their childhood. Eric responds with, "Well, that was their choice." Like, decided to go fight crime. And like, the Powerpuff Girls don't realize the magnitude and importance of what they're doing as crime fighters. They are simultaneously having a great childhood and fighting crime. Like, that's the whole idea of that. And I don't know, I mean, if there was some kind of like an absurd tongue-in-cheek thing with this, where like they're making a dark parody of Powerpuff Girls, which was already a light parody of superhero stuff, there could maybe be something there. But why would you do that? I don't know. Like, of the 1,000 things you could make, why would that be the thing you made? And that's not what they'll do. They'll play it completely straight. There won't be. I bet. You know that. Anyway, that's what I think. I can't have it. William Parcell.
So Cap's on the fence.
Do you think they'll try to throw the professor character under the bus and portray him as an abusive parent? Yes, I do.
Oh man.
I think that's exactly what they'll do.
That's terrible.
He's gonna be like the professor from Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
That's exactly what he's gonna be.
Steve Murphy, that's a great point. We've also seen what happens without them. Him takes over and everyone is zombies and the professor is crazy. Yeah, you needed them. So what is that series going to be like? How dare you, society, let these 3 little girls like fight crime and save you time and time again because they're supposed to be like children having childhoods? It's like, yeah, it wasn't a drama though.
Are we gonna finally see Sarah Bellum's face?
I don't think they'll even use her, or if they
or the
do,
mayor.
yeah, they'll make a really big deal out of how like they're too progressive not to do the like big chested thing, and so like they'll have her, but like maybe they'll hide her. They won't even hide her face behind stuff because it won't be a comedy. I bet this isn't even a comedy, like at all.
That's awful.
Well, that premise doesn't sound like a. How do you get jokes out of that?
I love how Cap can't even like play along and be like fake angry mad because he's so actually mad.
No, I'm not fake. So I sometimes will play up fake angry mad, particularly when we're hanging out with Brandon. Who, by the way, I love to death, and people think I don't like him because I've maybe played up our antagonism too much or something. This is not that, okay? This is awful, and I cannot live in a world where it exists. And will I watch it? I don't know how not to. Like,
it's as bad as the Aunt May as a spy character idea that Sony had.
No, it's way worse than that.
Like, why would you even come up with that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and I'm not saying that if it actually goes to series, I'll watch all of it, because that would make me even more of a masochist than I was when I did Spawn Year, but I would, but I don't know how to not review the pilot. Just because I know people are probably going to want me to, and also, there's a lot of things I wouldn't do if I didn't have this, but anyway. I'm sad.
Just call it Chemical X.
I haven't looked into this. I heard a rumor that Craig McCracken was actually coming back to make a new animated movie, and that at least Tara Strong was coming back, but I don't know if there's any truth to that. I haven't looked that up, so I hope that's true. It doesn't make this any better of news if it actually gets made, but yeah. Anyway, that's probably it for this evening. DJ, did you see anything else that we really need to tackle?
No, I think we should end on that very sour note.
I love how there was this like unintended moment of silence where I'm just waiting for my moderator to do something, and everybody's just like, let's just keep watching Cap as he's like descending into sadness.
I like it.
We're still doing it. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching. I hope you had a good time hanging out with us on the Captain Logan Show. I was, once again, the aforementioned Captain Logan. Kareem, thanks for joining us. Come back anytime.
Thanks for inviting me.
Come review something else that we know nothing about.
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
And DJ, thanks for sticking around regardless.
Okay, I'm sorry. The most ridiculous super chat ever just came in from John.
And he was asking it earlier in pre-written too.
Do you want to take this one?
John Ty puts in a $2 super chat, and usually John Ty questions are like really heavy philosophical, kinds of existential things. He just wants to know if our hands sweat. Yes, because we're human beings, and that's a biological function. I don't
know what he means, like, on this show?
Yeah, are you asking if I'm, like, really nervous every time I do the show? Like, are my hands sweating now? Like, not really. Not any more than normal.
I will say, I don't sweat, like, barely at all. Like, my wife's always mad at me because I like, never sweat. But the only places that do sweat on me are my hands and the bottoms of my hands and the bottoms of my feet. It's a really weird thing. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
All my sweat comes out of those two places. Everything else, I could be, like, outside, like, mowing the lawn for, like, an hour, and I'll come in, and Grace is like, why are you not sweating at all?
James
I live in Georgia.
James just wrote, do you bleed? Yes, we do.
So, yes, my hands sweat, John.
You will.
You will.
I asked Jason that question when we did our BVS video that we posted yesterday, or because somebody actually asked that. It was really funny because I asked for a lot of questions on that show to give Jason some prompts because he hasn't done a lot of that kind of review, and somebody just wrote, "Do you bleed?" And Jason, it was like the best response. He just goes, "Yes," and then I was like, "Should we test it?" And he goes, "No." But anyway, well, Kareem, that is the risk we take when we bring guests onto this show. Somebody might ask you if your hands sweat.
Yeah, it gets personal here.
It does.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
He's not going to answer it either. He's got too much integrity to talk about his own personal sweat glands.
That's for after dark. Leave the gland talk for after dark.
That's not even an after dark question.
I know, that's why I said that. I was joking.
Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you had a good time, and we will see you again on Thursday with a brand new episode of the Captain Logan Show at 7 Central. I'll have a commentary for you tomorrow on The Matrix Reloaded from me and Eric, so look forward to that. Regardless of how much you might despise that movie or if you've never seen it, I implore everybody that likes listening to Eric to listen to that one, because I think, and maybe if he saw this, he'd think I was touting him up too much. It is Eric's best performance in a long time. He had a lot of really cool, interesting ideas about that movie, and you really should do yourself a favor and take a listen to it. It was the most fun I've had talking to him in a long time. So, and then on Thursday, new Captain Logan show, and lots more stuff coming your way right here on Geekvolution. I was Captain Logan. Special guest Kareem this evening, and DJ Martinez, our wonderful moderator. Absolutely. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.